I want to welcome today Brandon Bach, who is the president of Consumer Convenience Technologies and makers of Easy Lid, which is the first significant jar lid innovation in over 75 years. So CCT has been a client of ours for a while. And Brandon, I mentioned to you earlier when we were chatting, I'm really excited for this for myself, just to hear the story from you. So how did you get into the lid business?
Oh, well, that's very interesting. I used to be in the staging world. I was a video director, did large corporate events all over the world. So roughly about 3 years ago, there was an opportunity that had arisen to come work with CCT, to work with my father, and to work with Pete. Both Pete and Jim are the two co-founders of Easy Lid. And I brought in my video expertise. So when we were in the research and development phase, we were using many different variables, many different tools, in combination. So I was able to come in with my video cameras, record all of the testing that was happening, and then we could go back and slow it down frame by frame. So every time we made a move within the press or one of the tools, we could see what effect it had on the outcome on the final product. And then from there, we could make a decision on what changes need to be made, or what area we need to move into next. So I really started out on the research side, just trying to help understand, all the effects and the changes that we were making to the tools, what it was doing to the overall process of the lid.
Right.
And it
So
was just,
why Easy Lid? What is it, and what problem were we solving?
since the invention of the lug lid has been over 70 years, there's been no new advancements or no new things added to it to make it easier to use, or the functionality. So Pete Stodd, one of the co-founders, he actually has invented a few other products, and they're out on the market today on the beer and beverage side. He was actually at a function with one of his companies, and he was talking with one of his associates and his wife. Her name is Dawn, and she actually posed the question to Pete, hey, you're a smart guy. Why can't you make a jar lid easy to open? Unfortunately, Dawn had just previously had some surgeries needed to be done because she had some impairments. And after the surgery, she was no longer able to open that jar lid.
Oh,
So she threw the question out to Pete, and Pete thought about it. And he had actually been thinking about coming up with a concept of an idea of an easy lid. But once Don kind of posed that question to him, he then turned to Jim Bach, the other co-founder, and then they spent the next 8 years researching and developing the technology.
I started my career in a father-son business. What's that like for you?
It's actually been really great. Like I said, my previous profession, I traveled all over the world, so it felt like I was never home. So when the opportunity arose to, hey, I can go work with my dad and be a part of that, and see him every day. But on top of that, to help answer the age-old question of, how do you open a jar? It's been in all, movies, comedies, you name it. They've been using the same old joke. How do you bang the jar on the table? Do you use a knife? Do you put it under hot water? Do you hit the bottom of it? And so what we actually did is, I have a jar right here. This is a product that we had in the Boyer supermarkets that does have our easy lid on it. So you can see it, your typical lid doesn't have the button
Right.
on it, but our easy lid does. And what the consumer, what you do is you'll push the button, which breaks the score and releases that vacuum. So right now in your standard jars today, you basically just have to use enough torque to overcome the vacuum that is in the jar to remove the lid.
Right.
Well, once you push the button, so I
Oh,
don't know if you heard it, but it
I
clicked.
heard it. Yeah.
Yep. And so what we've also done is, because we know safety is very key and very important, especially when, our product is touching the food. So we're trying to give as many visual indicators as we can to ensure that the client is getting a fresh product. So what that noise did is it gives you a verbal cue that, hey, I heard the vacuum being released. So that's one cue. And then the jar acts just like a lot of your jars do today with a safety button. So if the client or the customer walks down the grocery store aisle, they can push on the top of the jar and it'll flex like the safety button does today. So if
Yeah.
it flexes, you know that the vacuum has been released, and don't buy the product, and then, set it off to the side, let the store manager or a clerk know. So then once you release that vacuum, it basically makes the lid about 50% easier to open, depending on if you're using a CT, which is what this lid is, or a lug.
Wow.
So yeah, so having all that information and then trying to get that out to the industry and the consumers is definitely a hard thing to do unless you have a great PR firm by your side to help you get those great results out into the industry and into the consumer's eyes, and so they
Well,
can see.
I appreciate you saying that. And that's what I was going to be my next question to you. You know, as you're coming to market,
Mhm.
what drove that decision to get PR help and get the message out there?
Great question. It's not just having a great product and you're gonna, set the world on fire with it. You've got to get your message and your content and the data and the facts out to the industry and to the consumers. And especially in a time like now with the pandemic, where it makes in-person meetings a lot tougher. A lot more is done over Zoom and other platforms. But yeah, right now is a time where PR is definitely needed to get that message out. We collected all this great data, but unless you get an in-person meeting or a meeting with a company or a group, how do you get that information out to them so they can see that there is a product on the market that will benefit not only helping consumers, give them peace of mind when they're trying to open a jar for dinner, when they're cooking for their family or friends, but also then on the flip side, you have your the industry, you're trying to get them the data points. So it definitely helped having working with a PR firm like Uproar to get that message out there, to show the data, which inevitably then is a very positive message, because now it sets up meetings, and it gets the ball rolling.
Good, good. Well, look, I really appreciate your time and your insights. It's been a pleasure working with you and your whole team. And I want to thank Brandon and the whole CCT team for agreeing to join us here on PR Insights with Uproar. So thank you very much.
Absolutely, we greatly appreciate it, and we greatly value and appreciate everyone on your team's insight and creativity, and helping us make this a positive launch, because that's what we've done. We got great results, and then your team helped us share those results with the world and the industry. So we can't thank you guys enough.
Oh, great. Well, keep up the terrific work.
All right, thank you very much.